We're back with part 3 of this week's Melbourne Pro Punters panel. We'll pay a couple of little bills here. You can head to One to Follow to grab Potts' stuff, the Potts' Blaze and the full sets. Also grab Brendan Richards, kicked off last week. He was 25% profit on turnover for the first week of the NRL, so you can still jump in and get on board with Brendan's stuff. So we're back with Howard Wilder, who was a colleague of DK and I at Sportsbet, but yeah, we got up to the point where you'd left working for Anthony Dowdy on course and you got the gig with Best Bets.
Yeah, so that came about through Peter Sidwell. He purchased Best Bets. We were working, Brendan, myself and Mark were working in the form side of Aussie Bet. I don't know if you remember Aussie Bet.
Yeah, I remember Aussie Bet.
They sort of got Steve Cropley, Neville Clements and Gary Walsh together.
Yeah.
And had this sort of mini corporation of bookies advertising exclusively, and there were some form guides, supplying them with paper prices, and these guys go to the track. And look, I forget how long it went for, it's a long time ago now, but it didn't last long. But Peter Sidwell loves racing. He ended up creating a range stud, always owned horses, and he's always been in business, in the printing business, and he saw an opportunity to buy Best Bets and actually bring it into that world in the modern era at that time, publishing silks and things like that, because Sky Channel was up and running, of course, and he just improved the form guide. He's a smart man. He realised he needed a smart person to be the figurehead for it, so he got Steve Moran, who at that stage had his comments in the race book and worked in the Age. Now Steve Moran, I feel lucky to have met a lot of the people I've met and worked with, and he's an excellent fella, as in excellent journalist. He's got the gift of words to begin with. He's also very good with the form guide. He looks for things that other people don't look for. He looks at history, precedents with stables and all that. So we used to always look forward to reading what he put in the race book. We'd be working in the city, say, on Saturday, and then later on we'd be reading his comments, and that was one of the second opinions you'd gladly get. I didn't know the bloke at this stage, but it's like you'd have a comment about a horse and it just hadn't occurred to you. Anyway, so Peter Sidwell got him, headed it up, and as I said, we'd all been at Aussie Bet. He offered us various roles. He said, and Steve said to me, "Do you want to do Queensland?" I said, "Well, never watched a Queensland race in my life unless Chief De Beers was running around. Wouldn't even know, don't know where it is." I said, "But if you give me 3 months, I'll need to do some videos and whatever and get familiar with it. I didn't want to go to press next week, and I knew we weren't going to, but I didn't want to make it auditions." He said, no, we've plenty of time. Just start doing the vision and do your own form, and so away we went. So that lasted about 13 years.
It's a good stint,
Yeah, it was a good stint.
And I said some clever blokes, two of the blokes I highly respect, and Mark Hunter and Brendan Tupper. Great judges in their own right.
Absolutely.
Successful guys. And
absolutely.
Be around those people.
Well, that was the thing. It was a great place to work in the sense, we're operating out of a converted garage, if you don't mind, in the bottom of some building in Kew near the Harp Hotel there. Very ordinary premises, right? Because Peter Sidwell's a very good businessman, so not going broke on me.
So how many people do you think picked up their Best Bet thinking this has come out of someone's garage?
They had no idea. And so it's a small operation, but it was we managed to lift circulation just a bit, not as much as you hoped for, I'm sure. It's a hard industry, media. But we were there for ages, and I think Mark eventually left to pursue other things, but Brendan Tupper's still there, of course, and hopefully most people realise he's one of the best judges going in the country when it comes to Melbourne racing.
How many points on Best Bets? Like, I know still heaps of both bookies and punters that just rely on they still rely on it, whether they get the pro form in the long format that we have now or just the standard bit the race book out. Like, if you go to any midweek, well, even now to the point, like you speak about race books, if you go to a midweek country meeting, there is no race book anymore. No. It's the black and white A4 Best Bets printing out with whatever advertising they throw in there now. So it's the industry's still heavily relying on it, and most people, that's the thing, on the Thursday afternoon you go and get Best Bets, and that's where they start doing their form from.
And that was it. So when Sidwell's got Steve around and we start doing it, that was when we were doing video comments for the first time, and you'd get that little summary at the end, and we had selections for biases, because it was that thing about, you spend $5, they run one race the insides off, and then you might as well throw things away. But no, we will have run-on tips and we'll have leader tips. So this is our original thoughts, but then if things change, go to that, or if it's rained overnight, just look at the slow heavy tip. So it's a very clever concept that they put together.
I think it's great. It's got lot to offer to punters. You know, it still has. And the great thing about best bets, have always hired good form analysts.
Yeah.
And you're getting their very first pure thoughts on a race.
Yep.
Because you had no choice. You're trying to get out for an incredible deadline, like, Thursday or whatever it was, for Saturday's meeting.
Yeah.
So you had no time to have anything other than your pure thought. No, it's good.
No, the reality was, I was in Queensland, which is a nightmare. You'd have 28 nominations for those races, and you just sit there the night before, and I'd sort of have this convoluted speed map: F for forward, R for run a race, M for midfield, B for back, and then once they accept, you just put in a line through, and then you can just quickly see how many leaders you were left with, or whatever. And I'd also have sort of just a little system, a star system or something. For this would be my first pick under normal circumstances. 5 stars is 3 stars, no stars for most of them.
Yeah.
But as you say, we had a horrendous deadline. We were lucky if you had an hour after you saw acceptances to type in your overview. You couldn't do that the day before because you didn't know it was going to accept. Just quickly type in your selections. You got the distributor guy there who's on your back all the time. How long? Because they've got to get it to the press, to get it printed, to get it on planes, because it's national.
Yeah.
And the strength of it was being out the very next morning around Australia.
And the bloke in Cairns or Broome is relying on it as much as the bloke in Smith Street and Collingwood.
This is back in the days of faxes, and if it didn't get to say Broome or whatever, there'd be a fax first thing when you get in. It hasn't arrived. Someone blowing up, and it's like sometimes it's because it was raining at the airport and the planes couldn't take off on time. But it's like people wouldn't miss it.
And like before, just so Gator's taken over now to some degree.
Yep.
But Howie was the master of the witty comment those at the poorly placed or when we were Howie. They were famous for it. Was Howard Bolder's buying go for the best bets and find something clever he's written against.
If I didn't like a horse, I'd say something like, more chance of Donald Trump asking Hillary Clinton for a dance. Something like that. Figure it out for yourself. Because how many times can you say, rather risk or don't like or whatever? You've got to try and pick the person reading.
Place chance best. So Howie, when you first started there, I assume you were probably just doing the Saturdays for the printed edition.
Yes.
At what stage did it become the digital edition? And I assume once the digital stuff started coming out, the workload must have gone through the roof, because now they do a form guide daily.
Yeah, so look, I couldn't tell you how many years I've been there before the digital came out, but every other day we were always doing videos, and because we typed, in those days we typed in our own individual comments, whereas now I notice you'll often see selections by so-and-so, or the overall
and the video comments.
Someone else has done the one-liners, as I call them, the comment under each horse. So they've had to, obviously, otherwise you just never get through it. So, you'd sort of be doing, it'd take you a whole day to do your one-liners off the nominations, because you'd have to, some horses you've got to pull out the video and look at it. We couldn't make anything up. So we couldn't just say out of form, you had to find that one that had been checked and held up. If someone else is looking at the steward's report or back the horse, they know. So there's nowhere to hide. We weren't going to press making it up. So
got to keep the quality up.
Yeah, so I think in the end, when I was there, we were doing maybe the midweek Brisbane as well, but I was never doing.
You were doing
now, no.
Like the Ipswich on the Tuesday.
No, what we did in the last few pages, you might find there was the Toowoomba Fields, just horse names, last 5 numbers, and there'd be 5 selections for each race. Certainly did that, and Gold Coast, but no, not the detail, but eventually.
And then,
sorry, along that journey, so you started down there, you explained the whole thing. When did you start punting seriously?
So punting seriously was way back in the AD days. Like, this is probably within a year or two of now working for AD. I'm working 4 times a week at the track. Like, there was no Monday racing, so no Sunday racing, whatever. But so I'm working regularly. As I said, you've got these pros coming up. You start to understand how it all works, and then you sort of dip your toe in and you get bitten maybe the first time, but just keep punching, and all of a sudden it's working for you. Find a way, figure out what works for you. It's very important to know what you're good at. So as DK often says, the maidens bring them on. We're using videos and we're getting the Edel Buttle photos, if you remember the Edel Buttle photos, because you wanted to create a speed map. Now the Edel Buttles, obviously Kevin, Kaz and Mick, they'd have some at the home turn, some at the finish line, go home that night, use their dark room, stick names on each horse and get them at the end of the week. So
on the Stubby Run.
I've been on
the famous Stubby Run.
Stubby Run,
they'd start at Clifton Street, Caulfield. They had all these destinations. Filled up the esky back in the day. Went on the Stubby Run.
Too good for me, the Stubby Run.
Everyone would get their photos.
Yeah, exactly.
They get back there blind, 4 hours later.
So, you're buying yourself. I was buying tapes, as I say. I was buying them, and you're not getting paid a lot of money, but you're spending money to make money.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then Anthony once I was sort of going all right at it, then we had this arrangement. Anthony said, okay, you know, bookies could get subbed. And he was going on holidays, and he said to me, do you want to sub when I go away? So I said, what do I do? Ever play bookies? Are you serious?
Yeah.
And
that's when was it something you aspired to, wasn't it? That when you're a clerk and everything, the day when they said you can sub. Because you want to be a bookie, wouldn't you? Yeah. It's what you want to be. That's what you aspire to, and then here's your chance.
You think you know more than them. You can't wait to actually have the chance. Seriously, you're thinking, why are you turning this off? You know, like,
it's got no.
You think you know what's bring it on. So he was going to Bali as he always does, and so you feel like the sub's form. I'm the sub, and as he said to me at the time, you know, he said I've never trusted anyone before to do this, and I took that on board. It was massive. And I remember that I was going to Cranbourne, we were going to be on the fence in Cranbourne, and I didn't sleep the night before. I wasn't scared, I was excited. I'm just lying there thinking, you know, I remember I'm writing the first ticket the next day. I was a hurdle at Cranbourne, something won at 25 to 1. Seriously, I can't remember what it was, but we nearly kept the book. It's like, thank God, you know, like, I should go to church, you know, like, how good's this?
And that would have been back in the days when the ring was at the back of Cranbourne and there would have been 40
That's
bookies
right.
there.
Well, the ring was at the back, and then, there would have been nearly 40, I imagine. There was certainly 2 long rows, and so he might have gone away for 2 weeks that time.
So any horror stories in that 2 weeks? Where you
look, it sounds bad when you say it, doesn't it? But like, so we had a really good run, and we got to a chuka on the final meeting I was working. Did our life. We still had, he still had something to give him and all that. But it's like, it doesn't look good when you think of it. Oh, look at this bloke. He's chalked up a big lead, and now where's it all gone?
Shot it all off.
But they got me the chuka.
Well, to give a bit of context there, I worked at Cranbourne Cup night on Friday night, and it was also the Cranbourne Pacing Cup night. There were 10 bookies in the main ring. There were 2 outside of the main ring. There were 3 harness bookies there, and it was 6 minutes before the harness cup, and the bookie was holding $7. So, and it was tough there. There was lucky there was a couple of pros there betting, because otherwise it just wouldn't have been a lot of cash. So it's dropped off a lot since those days.
When you joined us at the factory, Howie, and now you've unfortunately gone the way of how the corporates are doing it now. Is sort of
Best Bets moved when the industry bought it and Winning Post. That was a package. So I lived about 15 minutes from the office, and then it moved. Petrol was $14 a litre or something, and you had to drive 3 hours to get to Flemington, and I'm thinking, leave me out of this. So, and every so often you'd get a phone call from someone, and Shari Reid rang up and said they're looking for staff. This is when Reedbet.
Back when we were.
Yeah, so I went to Reedbet, and after 12 months. This was Reedbet. Catherine's, So I was there for 12 months.
And then you came across to Sportsbet.
And then that wasn't working out for them, and so they got rid of quite a lot of people. It just, it wasn't very hard to start up. And then I rang Johnny Dow. He mentioned Johnny Dow earlier. I rang Johnny Dow, listen, and he said, look, come into Marlborough to do Sportsbet. And he wasn't far off the truth, which was, I had to still go through the formalities. We interviewed. They were actually hiring someone. And I was told later they were probably looking for an entry-level trader, but at the same time, the guy who interviewed me sort of went to his bosses and said, we're light on for experience, bookmaking experience from those days, and sort of said, maybe we can hire Howie and go from there. And so
then they went by the wayside, unfortunately. With 50 others when they pulled the pin in the back of Mark Roden and Jared Toomey and other friends of the show. And,
I'm certainly not talking about myself, but the talent pool that they released is extraordinary. Jared Toomey, we all know. Sort of an encyclopedia, and Mark Roden's encyclopedia. These guys, you can talk about any horse in the last 30 years, they'll tell you its ability and futures markets and managing all that, which is the big turnover stuff, and that absolutely just nail it.
Looks like they've gone what they're doing. I was just sort of picking all this up over speaking to people, and they're going the way of sort of automated pricing on a lot of the lesser venues. So they've got in pretty tight with a very reputable horse tipping form service. And so you'll find in the early markets now that things that there won't be the errors on horses who've run figures or run time or run well. They're going to go up short. That's what's going to happen. But things that are hidden away, this is more on the outright place. Like they still have Chich and those doing Flemington, and the big joint spokes will be doing form. But things are hidden away. There's a chance there in the early markets that they'll go up the wrong price because no one's watching the videos. There's things like that's basically they're replacing good staff with automation, which is
way of the world.
Now, I'm sure this annoys DK as much as it annoys Marco B, who's been blowing up about it on Twitter. Please, if you have any idea and you can still get on, please wait till 9 o'clock so that the rest of us can also get on. If you see a price there that's wrong, just wait, please. Just help everyone. Because there's still the rush.
It's a good suggestion, Jumpy, but it just won't happen. Because I'll tell you why. Sometimes I see one, I think it's pretty well hidden. I'll just leave it alone and wait till everyone's up so I can get a good chunk out of it. And every time someone else takes it, like I just say, like 90, I would say 90%. Like it's 1 in 10 that is missed.
It's always been the way. Like you go back, as I say, go back 30 years, and I'll blame you if someone opened the prices, and you'd be sort of thinking, back in the day, the totes had a huge influence on the opening price, and there was only ever 1 or 2 bookies that would ever open that set. And so it'd be like, do we rush in and take this? Might go $7 and you've got it 7 to 4, and you know it's going to run somewhere like that, or do you just sit back and hope? And so sometimes you'd wait, and then someone else would go in, and you're like, there you go, opportunity gone. And sometimes, it's a hard one. It really is a hard one.
But also there was questions you said, and I don't know if you addressed it or not, but a lot of people want to know, should we bet early, should we bet late? And it's gut feel, it's everything, isn't it?
There's no definitive rule for it.
The time you wait, the other teams will come in and beat you.
I think the more you understand the big teams, the better you'll be at knowing when to bet.
That's what
if they're going to find them, you have to be ahead of them.
And you know what they're looking for. They're looking for map. They're looking for improvement. They're looking for trainer job. So
look, if the game gets predictable, I'd be surprised if the big teams don't back the wrong horse or 2 wrong horses, knowing that they've gone on 33s. It's got none. You take the 33s that. You take the 17s that. Now the 283.20. They've got odds on or evens, and go to bed. And the next stage you say your dream comes true. 9 o'clock, everyone's gone up. They mightn't bet till 11 a.m.
It's getting very tricky now. I mean, I'm fascinated watching how the big teams are using the algorithm that the corporate's been using against using their own algorithm against them. And now I can see that the corporates have wound the algorithm back a bit because they can see that they were just getting done by it.
And let down the garden path.
When they'd be regularly betting these big teams percentages into the 90s because they're overreacting to.
Well, that's the thing, and that's what they've lost. When you've got a manual trader, by all means, you turn this horse off, Juppy, turn it off seriously, but you don't have to push.
No.
In the first 10 seconds, you know what I mean?
Just sit back, wait, see what happens. Or go, okay, well they've backed this. What else is this Burley that they're putting out for me, or is this the actual one they want to be on? Because there's been plenty of it's nearly there's so many races now where that happens, where as soon as the prices go up on the boards, especially I see it more from a track point of view, as soon as the prices go up, they'll knock one off, and you know that it's not the one they want to back. The one they want to back is the one they're going to back with 3 minutes to go.
A lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, there's a lot of
work your way through that. I tumbled in yesterday and I just felt ill myself for it. I got to 420 something and then 780 on Betfair at the death.
It drives it.
Sick feeling.
I was doing, and ran accordingly,
Yeah.
And I know why I got it wrong, that's okay.
And you know why.
I know why. You've got to come up with the answers why. I know why.
And the other thing is, boys, with the limits the way they are now, it's never been cheaper for the bigger syndicates to get them to turn the price off.
No.
Because it may only cost you $300 or $400 across the industry to get a price turned off 3 or 4 times. 3 or 4 rolls.
Savage algorithms. Like Centrebet, they're betting everyone, but that algorithm, they'll one to one of the teams at 220 and the next price will be $1.40.
Yeah.
And that's fairly complete.
And it just makes
then it'll bounce back,
I've got to the point where, if you take 9 o'clock as a starting point for most races, the Savage firmers and the Savage drifters, any time prior to the last 5 minutes before the race, mean nothing to me. It's just all them things are to me are market manipulation.
Yeah.
So you've got to keep
it doesn't actually mean anything. It has no meaning until the last 5 minutes. Then you get the context of what it really means. So, like, I'll give Mr. Sneaky was a good example on Saturday. It was still $10 race morning, 9 o'clock. Then one of the teams backed it. They didn't back it everywhere. They only backed it
between a certain amount.
A couple. So it was into like $5 at some places and $7 at other places. Then it got back out again, and then later in the day, so that early short didn't really mean anything. No. The late one meant everything.
The late one meant everything. When Jolko said I got a 350 or something, wasn't it? This one around the tape, 5 to 2.
250,
The jogger said 5 to 2, but they're only betting late. So
that's the price.
When Worcester and everyone else is tuning in.
Now, when you started at Sportsbet, what did the risk department look like at that stage, if you can remember? Because I know, like in my time, it was only just getting going. I did a little bit of risk work there. And DK, you'd remember back when the risk department was one bloke watching it.
Well, when we started, there was a bit of a. They had to mend the bridge. There was the form because the risk guys came in and the Poms, the Irish said, "This is the way we want to run it," and we'd been running it how we run it at Reeds. Yeah. We thought that was quite successful. So then we had this. We were the traders. We made the decisions.
Yeah.
Put that bloke on the limit him.
Yeah.
Bet Bartholomew this much. Blah blah blah. Then said, "No, you're not doing that anymore. These blokes over here are going to do all that." And then so we're saying, "Hang on a minute." And there was a big wedge in down the middle.
Yeah.
With that to have some. Draws together and things like that. I don't know if you remember that.
Well, so when I came in, that obviously had already taken place. As a trader, you could still actually bet on behalf of the company. So, we had license to
have a
trade. Yeah.
So it was different. The difference for me, the difference was we were arriving at 8 a.m. with no form done to be betting race to race from 30 a.m. or something. Doing the form, the market would come out and you'd say, "Well, that's ridiculous," and you'd back it. Da da da. So the risk side of it had already happened. That thing. They were calling shots on that. So all that changed in my time really was that all of a sudden the scale of the business was so big, and you couldn't get on. It was pointless.
You mark one none, and then the bloke would come on and want 3,000 or something. There's only betting. Then the risk guy, no, his rules are betting a monkey, and you're trying to get you're trying to get the maximum out of it because winning your figures. It was Hox versus you, but there's a good chance that he beats me, this bloke. There's a good chance he gets some money off him. I want his money on this horse.
Yeah.
Because there's one chance where I've got an edge on him, I reckon.
Yeah.
But no, you couldn't. I said that's when the writing was on the wall to me. So this is not going to work out much longer. But anyway. But now you're out, you've given the punt against those since you left Howie, you've joined us on the. You're going to have a full-time punt.
I was thinking about this before I came in today, and I was sort of thinking. I reckon, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sort of like start of the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? So first quarter was sort of AD, and second quarter was whatever, and third quarter was the corporates, and now it's like, when it all came to an end, I was kind of like disappointed, obviously, because it wasn't my decision, it was theirs. But at the same time, I'm never sort of glass up full sort of bloke. And
opportunity?
Absolutely. It was like late November, the weather was beautiful, and I thought, okay, well, I'm not going to panic market, I'm just going to sort of sit down and have a think about it. And obviously I'm still doing the form every day. I've always done the form for myself, and I've always had a bet through all this journey. And so I thought, well, I'll just keep doing what I've kind of done and stick to that. And fortunately, my darling wife wasn't stressed. She was like, no, it's fine.
Yeah, well, it's very important.
What are you going to do? I said, I'm going to contact my network, let it be known that this is what's happened, and then just be open to the right sort of offer if it comes along. But, we know that the days of going back to work at the track 4 times a week are over.
Except for Jumpy.
Which I haven't been on the track for that long. It's not funny, and I love it. But that doesn't really.
Yeah, it's one thing you miss it. You do miss the track.
You never stop missing it.
But they were the heyday when we were there.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, I'll turn the lights off when I'm finished because.
They're nearly on the way out.
So then I think it was sometime in December. I was sitting around one morning and I just thought, I might just start a blog. I've never been, I'm not really big on all this sort of stuff. Twitter I had to go on to because work encouraged it because you get a lot of good information via Twitter. Otherwise I wouldn't be on Twitter. So I started a blog. My wife had a blog once. I asked her what happened. It's pretty easy, So I started a blog. I call it No Last Race because that's kind of my mentality. You see blokes having a bet, come up to me before the last jump. He's come up to me, this is fictional, and he says, "Well, my wife, can you help?" It's like, Jumpy, this is impossible. Don't worry about it. Wait till tomorrow. There should be something there. But Jumpy would go off and make something. It's like, well done, buddy. He's done another one. So my philosophy is always, you've got to just take a breath, relax. You can't win every day. Do the form. When you find something, feel the fear, but put the money down. It's very important. You've got to face those demons and say, "I'm confident. I know what I'm doing here." Have your own max bet, whatever that is. You've got to have. Like, I'm a firm believer you've got to have a lot of rules in this caper if you're going to be a punter.
Yeah.
And one of them is there is a max bet.
Yeah.
There's another rule of mine which is very important. If you don't know before they run the first race what your bets are, like 90% or more, then they're not having bets. You know what I mean? Like you might be saying I'm going to be on this and I'm going to be on that. Of course, during the day you're watching the market and something might get to 33 to 1 and you had like a chance at 6 to 1 in a hard race. Well, we have something at 33s, but don't let that define your day. Don't let that sort of, if that gets beat now, knocked off, hopefully you back that horse earlier that you really like, Yeah. Don't put the whole winnings on it because it was never a max bet.
Yeah, you would have seen it plenty of times, and Mark Roden mentioned it to us when he joined us. Is that often that last race, whether it be Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Brisbane, and some of those later races in Perth, were the highest holding races of the day. It's for that particular reason, because if you are serious about this and you do want to win out of the game, you have to treat it like there is no last race.
No last
because
race.
the Pickles, that's what the Pickles are doing. The Pickles are trying to blast out.
Yeah.
And they're trying to find that Willie Pike thing, or they're trying to find the winner at 8-1 in the last in Adelaide to get out for the day.
Well, it's two bad habits there. One, they're either trying to blast out, or two, they've had a great day.
Yeah.
You know, they've had a fill up by whatever their measures are, but they're feeling so lucky. Oh, I'll have another bet. You know, just like seriously, whatever.
God love them, long may it continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we need them, but
of course, absolutely.
But if you,
But the punters don't even take it seriously.
Yeah.
I listen to Howard, and I couldn't agree with him more. Got to have a plan. You've got to have a structure to help you deal with it when things go against you. You've got to have some form of process that you can fall back on.
Yeah, I just think otherwise you just opening yourself. You know, the emotion kicks in. You know, obviously you know whether you're winning or losing as the day is unfolding, but that doesn't. The horse you're about to back doesn't know whether you're winning or losing. So you know, you've just got to do what you're intending on doing, and you've got to be agile. And you know, it's a great word, isn't agility? And if leaders aren't winning and you were going to back a leader, well, obviously it's like. I'm not backing it now. I mean, seriously, you might have been intending to back it all along, but now it's not a bet.
Yeah. So the punters can measure this against how they operate themselves. Because I've spent so long, the minimum I put into any race, I bet it's half an hour, right? Like sometimes it can be longer, whatever. But if someone comes to me and says, ask me about a race I haven't looked at, and ask me who I back, I've just got no clue.
Yeah.
I haven't, unless I go through each step I go through, I wouldn't even have a clue who to back.
Yeah. I do that from time to time, don't I, Potts, where I've copped some information and I said, have you had a look at this race? And you just go, mate, I can't help you because I just haven't got the time to put the work in. And it just pans out like that sometimes.
So you're on Twitter, Howie? People can follow your blog on Twitter?
Yeah, so...
And Chicken Chowder, is it?
No, so on Twitter I think it's Howard Walter.
Howard Walter, right, okay.
So at the moment all I'm doing is, let's just say, it was in December and I thought I've got to keep myself honest as well, which I honestly didn't think is a problem. But I just thought, I kind of like this idea of when I actually am confident and am betting, but I'm just going to tweet it. So I remember I sort of... I said to blog or not to blog, that is the question as I was sort of opening the blog. And then I thought, you know, so then I might be the night before and I say, you know, race 4 I like this, it's $3.30 currently, 128%, and a couple of reasons, try and keep it brief. The feedback I got from a lot of people was positive. They sort of said, yeah, I think you're not going into too much detail. I can ramble when I'm talking, but you're not going into too much detail here, it's pretty good. So, and hopefully a lot of them have won. And so that's how I approached it, and a part of that was too, like every day I get an email, which I've been getting for 100 years, from a stockbroker. You know, every day stockbrokers send out information. It's amazing every single time when you know, they've got their things and you click on them and open up the document and it's buy, sell, hold. Every single one of them, you know, buy BHP, da da da. The final thing you read is the author owns no shares in BHP. Every single thing. I'm thinking,
you've got to have skin in the game.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So my point was, if I've got skin in the game, I'll just put it out there because
I think it creates a threshold for you.
Yeah,
you don't want to send stuff out that's going to make you look a fool. So.
No, you know, if someone said to me, "Well, I want 4 tips a race or something," just on, you know, I tell you know, I don't mean so much through this forum, but just in general, I'd say, okay, well, here's my picks each race.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me, you know, what's your best or what are you backing, and that's how I'm sort of approaching this. It's kind of like these are the 2 races I'm betting in. It's essential that as I said earlier, I don't have bad bets. I'm trying to only have good bets, less is more, and so that's kind of the philosophy of it.
So just to finish up, have you got a horse for us to follow that you've seen that might be in the black book that you've seen up there in Queensland?
Yeah, so there was a couple of horses I black booked on Saturday. 8 Below, Gillian Heinrich horse. I think it was 3rd up from the spell, and it's a back marker that charges home, but once it gets going, it's very strong. It was a really nice 3rd on Saturday, so that was one of the ones I black booked, and I'm trying to think of another one which put me on the spot.
What about you, DK? Coming maiden winner? I found one for you there. He's our Woody.
He's our Woody, yeah, beauty. I was on Solo Lane.
Oh, sorry.
I took $6 Solo Lane, ran 7 and 4. Fonk, leave me out of Fonk's. Fonk's favourites in the country. Just leave me out. 2 even money chances. Got beat at Kite yesterday.
Sorry.
Just leave me out of Fonk, please.
You know what they should just
Wayne Hawks.
You know what they should just rename those? They're the dispersal sale.
Yeah.
That they are on the one-way trip to Oaklands, those horses. All right, well,
I'm going to back. I haven't done the form yet, but I think there's a hot maiden at Ballarat, Just a Dreamer, and you would think it's in today, but I think Exploitation's finished behind them. It's in tomorrow with D. Oliver on it or something. I think it's a hot race, but hopefully I'll have it in the market.
Potts might have had something at $11 this morning.
Oh.
Okay.
Price is
anyway, there was one I can't remember the name of, but you'll remember sure. There was one I saw of Danny O'Brien's win at, I think it was Ballarat, just charged away.
One gala.
Seriously.
So when he went round this, see that's SP factor there, see. So it ran $1.70. He was first up over 1400 at Pakenham, $1.70, got beat. And was pretty plain for $1.70 chance.
Yeah.
But the $1.70 told you they expected that horse to do a step better.
Yeah.
Right? So it's come out and with D-Lane on it, second up fitter, and D-Lane can really harness acceleration in horses like Beaver Willow.
Yeah.
So he's just got into travel and just asked it to go, and he just didn't take off.
Brained him, yeah.
And I was just trying to, for how much improved it off the Pakenham run, it was just like chalk and cheese. Like it's at least stepped and more, but it's...
I reviewed that race, just watching it go through the line thinking, oh my God, this is the horse, this is.
Yeah. Yeah, so that $1.70, they had to refer to that SP factor to say they expected much better than what it did first. They just needed the fitness. It was 285 days or something, but his horses are flying in the bush. They're up and going, those two camps again. I mean, it's just, when we say Cavan never trained another winner and they've been through all this drum, but to their credit, those two camps, they are up and going.
They are.
With all the pressure that's going on them, they're getting horses, they're participating.
Hard in the market.
But
so
it's all cyclical, DK. I can remember when the three of us were all working together, and Hayes had started your row and we're taking things to Corral and Maidens and
we had a hell of a fun. Me and Dolls had a hell of a fun every time watching them get beat.
And just
so this bloke is completely gone.
He's finished.
How good is that joint now?
And then absolutely
David Hayes. They just tick every box, every horse. The horses are just what a fantastic. Great for him to turn it around. It's just good on you.
Speaking of joints that are flying and upcoming winners, how many feature races over the next 12 months is Ausbet going to be involved in?
Just a Leviathan,
he's massive. So you'll probably win the Warrnambool Cup with Marwood, and then you'll probably have 3 spring features with Planciello and Speedy.
Big Duke, is Big Duke one of his or not?
I'd be surprised if he's not involved.
Planciello, that's his.
So he's probably bought up at the yearling sales. He's probably got
whoever sold him into Australian.
So this show's gone on forever, and it could take. It should be up by Christmas, I'd say, Jumpy. Shouldn't it?
I'll just start my night pots. I've got nothing else to do. Anyway, thanks so much for coming, mate. Absolute pleasure having you.
Thanks, Howard. It was really good, mate.
DK, always a pleasure to see you, mate. And Pots,
mate.
we'll be back. It's probably next week after Super Saturday at Flemington.
We will.
But I'm off to Eden Hope and